Good to go. All right, find your spot on your mat. And I would recommend you start lying down on your back first. I'm going to start with a bit of a yin series. And for this one, we will want to be reclined. Use that grounding breath position and focus to land here on your mat. And if you'd like, you can have the legs outstretched all the way, or you're welcome to bend the knees and let them knock in. Either option, whatever is most comfortable and best for you. And take a moment to notice how the breath is moving, whether it moves easily into the chest or navel, or maybe it's a little challenging. And feel the navel lift as you breathe in, breathing down into the belly. And as you exhale, feel the back of the body land and release into the floor. Feeling the abdomen lift as you breathe in. And exhale, release back into the floor. Be aware of the points of contact that touch the ground, the points that touch your mat. And as you rest a little while longer, observe, hopefully, as the physical body lands, so does the mind. At any point throughout our practice, if the mind starts to wander, if we get distracted, bring your awareness back to the movement of breath, the sensation of stillness, a specific limb that may be moving or that may be touching the floor. Anything that helps keep the mind present, knowing that it likes to wander. In order to bring it back, we may need to give it something to rest with. Almost as though we're distracting it with something within our practice, so it's not distracted by anything outside of our practice. And if you'd like, you can keep this idea of presence as your intention, or you can set something else that may seem more relevant at this moment. Something you've been working on or something new. A change of mindset. A change of habit, habitual thinking. What actions would help support this intention during your life? Or what actions could we omit, or what thought patterns could we omit to achieve this intention? And now please walk the soles of the feet together. Let the knees relax out to the sides about 90 degrees through both knees. Exhales, feel where the outside seam of the legs release toward the floor. And notice where the shoulders are. If the first place we landed in seems to have the shoulders a little tight up to the ears, see if we can slide the shoulder blades in and down the back. Shoulder blades gently toward the spine so they're not rounding forwards. And gently relaxed and down toward the base of the spine, toward the pelvis. Now, with this awareness of the shoulders, if you'd like, you're welcome to take the arms into a goalpost shape. The backs of the hands may not land completely onto the floor, but as they release, the chest might feel a little more space. And feeling the breath into the navel again, tracing the path of the breath, inhaling into the nose, down into the throat. Feel the lungs and the rib cage expand, and take the breath down into the navel. As you exhale, release the breath back up and out through the nose. Inhale, breathing in through the nose, down into the navel. And exhale back up and out through the nose. And notice again if the mind wanders as it's not being pulled in or distracted by physical movement. Bring it back to something more subtle that is happening. Breath, compression, release, any sensation within your practice. And we'll take the hands to the outside of the legs. Bring the legs back toward one another. And we'll take the arms wide out to the sides. Pick the hips up just slightly, just enough to shift them up and over toward the right side of the mat. So the spine, the torso may feel a little crooked right now. That's okay. Pick up the feet, take the knees up over hips or navel, and release the legs to the left. And we'll turn the head to the right. So the left arm could help anchor the legs, or if you have a block, a pillow, we could take it underneath the left knee, the bottom knee, or between the knees if you'd like. And if turning the head to the right is uncomfortable, we can leave it facing the ceiling. And as you rest in your twist, to be aware of the expansion the breath creates. Go ahead and trace this shape once again in through the nose, down into the rib cage, which will feel a twist, into the navel, which might feel a little compressed. We don't have to force the breath, but see if we can keep a similar expansion. Feel right shoulder and right rib cage move in response to the breath. Now, please roll all the way onto your left side. Take the upper body to meet the lower body. Keep the right knee, the top knee, forwards. Let it sit down onto the floor as you straighten the left leg, the bottom leg, down the length of the mat. Taking the palms together in front of the chest, we'll come into a slightly different variation of our recline twist. As you inhale, open the right arm behind you. Right knee stays on or toward the floor, perhaps to a block or a pillow. As you exhale, close right palm back onto left palm. We can stack the shoulders. Take the head with you. Inhale, open back. Exhale, close. Once more, inhale, open back. Exhale, close. Inhale, open back to stay open. Breathing here. If you'd like, this may be familiar, we can take the right arm into a goalpost shape. Let the top part of the arm, the back of the hand, release toward the floor. And we can make a snow angel type motion. Moving from the shoulder, elbow stays about 90 degrees as the thumb moves up toward the top of the head, and the elbow moves back down to the rib cage. If you'd prefer to take a stationary twist, you're welcome to omit this movement. And maybe your arm touches the floor, maybe it doesn't. And we'll roll all the way back onto the left side. Take the upper body to meet the lower body. Bend left knee back up below the right knee so the legs stack. Bottom arm can make a pillow under left ear or left temple. And roll back onto your back, and we will switch sides. So we took our recline twist first. If the hips may still be over to the right, pick them up and shift them over to the left slightly. Pick the feet up, knees over hips or navel, and release the legs to the right. This is our first twist, so we'll keep the legs together or toward one another. They don't have to land completely. We could set a block underneath the knees or between the knees. Right hand holding left knee. We can turn the head to the left or keep the head straight up toward the ceiling. Again, tracing the path of the breath. Trying to not let our physical shape constrict the breath too much. Make sure we still have the capacity for a slow, full, nourishing breath. And take your upper body to meet the lower body. Left arm up and over, roll all the way onto your left side, and we'll keep the left knee, the top knee, forwards onto the floor or onto a prop. We'll straighten the right leg, the bottom leg, down the length of the mat. Inhale, open the left arm behind, so we're breathing into left chest, left rib cage. Exhale, close, left hand back to right hand, knowing the left arm may not land to the floor. Inhale, open back. So for this variation, we're twisting through upper spine instead of lower spine. Exhale, close. Inhale to open. Exhale, close. And inhale to open to stay open. Again, left arm could come to a goalpost shape. And this side, I don't know about you, my right arm landed just fine. My left arm, not so much. Be aware that we could be uneven through our twist, and that is also okay. If you'd like, we can take our snow angel wing. Again, left arm may not land, but the more movement, the longer we stay, maybe it starts to get a little closer to the floor. And relax the left arm. Go ahead and roll all the way over onto your right side. Bend the right knee back up underneath the left knee. Right arm can make a pillow under the head. Let the lower spine normalize here. And roll back onto your back, please. A little bit of more movement here, a little bit of core activation. Please take the limbs up toward the ceiling. Arms up over shoulders, legs up over hips. As you exhale, feel the navel hug back, drawing toward the floor so that there's not as much of a low back curve as there usually would be. Instead of the tailbone landing heavily or the back of the pelvis landing heavily, lower spine lands. This may mean that the tailbone lifts up a little bit. As you inhale, lower the right leg about halfway toward the floor. We can keep the knees bent here if the hamstrings are tight. Exhale, lift the right leg back up. The back of the pelvis, lower spine stays stable. Left leg, inhale, extend about halfway toward the floor. Navel stays back. Exhale, lift up. Left arm, inhale alongside the left ear, about halfway there. Exhale, lift up. Right arm, inhale alongside the ear. Exhale, lift up. So we can either do one limb at a time like we just did, or alternate limbs. So just right leg or right leg and left arm. This opposition makes it a little more challenging. Exhale, lift up. Keep the navel back. Left leg, right arm. Inhale, extend away. Exhale, lift up. Right leg, left arm. Exhale, draw up. Left leg, right arm. Exhale, hug up and hug both knees into the chest from here. Keep the left knee in and the lower spine down. Inhale, right leg out, down the length of the mat, foot flexed away from you as you are pressing it to stand. Exhale, take the right knee back in, both knees in. Left leg, inhale, extend out, foot flexed away. Exhale, back to chest. We'll do one more of each. Right leg, inhale, extend out. Exhale, hug back to the chest. Left leg, inhale, extend out. And exhale back in. Plant the soles of the feet to the floor. We'll alternate dynamic bridge and bug. Bug was our prep we were in with the limbs up. As you inhale, lift the hips and lift the arms. Navel stays strong. So we're not lifting the lower spine, we're lifting the hips. Exhale, release hips and arms back to the floor. Anchor the lower spine back to the ground. Inhale, lift the limbs up over hips and shoulder. Exhale, release, setting up for our bridge pose again. Try to keep the lower spine as we set the feet down. Inhale, hips and arms up. Exhale, release. Lower spine anchored. Inhale to lift the limbs. Exhale, lower. We'll do one more of each. Bridge. Lower down. And bug. This time, hug the knees into the chest. Tuck the hands behind the knees. Rock a couple times. Head to tailbone. Come up into a boat pose. Lift the chest. Keep the navel back, securing that same strength we've been working with. Arms can float or hold the legs. And tip forwards. Take the soles of the feet together. We'll sit tall. Last bit of yin here. We've already started to move a little more. Begin to hinge at the hips and fold forwards over the feet. Maybe walk to the toes, maybe past. And we'll sit back up. Take the knees toward one another. Shift forwards onto hands and knees. Come into tabletop. On your inhale, we'll lift the chest, come into cow pose. See if we can place our back bend into the upper spine where it's a little more challenging. Exhale, round to cat spine, hug the navel up and under. Again, keep that strength hugging in. Inhale, lift the chest, cow pose, shoulders back. Cat pose, exhale, round. We'll take a few more. And taking your time, feel no need to speed up the next time you complete cow pose. We'll take the hips back toward the heels and rest back to child's pose. Forehead may land the floor. If it doesn't, if it's uncomfortable releasing where it's at, we can stack the hands or the forearms below the forehead. And again, feel the breath down into rib cage, into navel, even now as we may have compression with the navel into the legs. Being mindful as we start to move a little more continuous movement, one movement per breath. We keep the mind with the breath. Begin to lift up onto hands and knees. We'll tuck the toes and hover the knees an inch or two off the floor, maybe just barely floating. Strong through whole front body, knees feeling as though they're pulling toward the wrists, and wrists as though they're pulling back toward the knees. Inhale, let the knees land, lift the chest, cow pose. And exhale, flat spine, hug the knees away from the floor again. Keep breathing here. Inhale, little lift in the chest, straight spine or cow pose, very gently. Exhale, hover the knees once again, breathing here. And hips up, back to down dog. We can pedal the feet or keep the legs still, your preference. And press back through both hips and both heels. As you inhale, shift to a plank or a kneeling plank. Let the shoulders move forwards over the fingertips. Bend the elbows back around the rib cage as we lower down. Hands can stay here. Lift the chest to low cobra. Shoulder blades pull back, heart forwards. Leave the knees. Exhale back to child's pose. Walk the hands over to the left side of the mat. Curve long through whole right side body. Again, breathing into right side, trying to not let our physical shape inhibit the breath. And walk the hands over to the right, curve long through whole left side. And hands back to the center, child's pose. Shift back up onto hands and knees, tabletop. Tuck the toes, move the hips up and back to down dog. On your inhale, extend the right leg back to three-legged dog. Keep the toes pointed to the floor, hips level. Exhale, release back to down dog. Left leg inhale, extend back, three legs. Exhale, release. Inhale back to a plank or a kneeling plank. Exhale, lower down, chest forwards, elbows back. Your choice, low cobra or up dog. We could float the legs if you wanted to. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. We can move through knees or toes to get there. And walk, step, or a hop your way forward. Come into a half lift at the very top of the mat. Shoulders back, heart forwards. Exhale, forward fold. We can always bend the knees in any forward fold. Raise all the way up, hands overhead. Hands to heart center. Inhale, raise the arms. Forward fold, exhale. Inhale to half lift. Fold, plant the hands, step the right leg back to kneeling lunge. Keep the hands to the ground, set the right knee down. So left knee continues to move forwards over midfoot or over left toes. And from here, bend the right knee, hug right heel toward right hip. Active through the hamstring and the glute slightly. And stretching through the front of the right leg. Release the right toes and move the hips back. Come into a kneeling pyramid. Torso can keep contact with the left leg as you begin to straighten the left knee. The left knee does not have to be all the way straight. And bend back into the left knee. Hands land. Straighten the right knee off the floor. Come into runner's lunge. Hips stay fairly level. Right hip lifted. Take the left arm up to the ceiling. Revolved runner's lunge. Inhales high through left hand. Back through right heel. Exhales collect all back to navel center. Slight strength back into the navel. Release the left hand to the floor. Inhale left leg back to three-legged dog. Our pose we found earlier. And down dog release. Inhale to a plank or kneeling plank. Exhale lower. Take your preferred vinyasa coming into your back bend. And exhale back to down dog. After your exhale, walk, step, or hop forwards. Half lift at the top of the mat. Forward fold. Raise all the way up, hands overhead. Hands to heart center. Inhale, arms raise. Forward fold. Half lift. Fold, plant the hands, step left leg back, kneeling lunge, left knee to the floor, right knee bends over midfoot or toes. And bend the left knee, hug heel toward hip, active through left hamstring. If you feel like you have a cramp coming on, back off a little. And release left toes, move the hips back, come into kneeling pyramid. We can keep that fold again. The right knee does not have to straighten all the way. And bend back into the right knee, hands land, straighten the left knee off the floor. Left hip stays lifted, so we're not dropping the hips when we twist. Stay level. Right arm to right hip or all the way up. Inhale, expand through all limbs. Exhale, collect back to navel center. And release the right hand back to the floor. Inhale, right leg back to three-legged dog. And down dog, release. Shift to a plank or kneeling plank. Exhale again, lower your preferred vinyasa, your back bend. And back to down dog. And walk, step, or hop forwards. Come into a half lift at the top of your mat. Interlacing the hands behind the back or grabbing a small towel or strap between the hands for more room. Open the chest, lift the hands back, and begin to fold. And again, we can fold over bent knees, letting the torso land on or toward the legs, instead of having the legs completely straight, but the spine rounding. We can always bring the hips back up if we've stayed for a while and the knees feel like they could straighten. Inhale back to a half lift. Release hands to knees or shins. Exhale, fold. Plant the hands. Step your right leg back, starting in runner's lunge this time. Inhale the left arm back up, coming into our twist. Release the left hand to the floor. Set the right knee down. Lift the torso this time. Torso away from the left leg and the arms up for our kneeling lunge variation. And twist right arm forward, left arm behind. Stay to breathe here in our twist. Navel draws back away from the left thigh. We might feel this more in the front of the right hip. And inhale the arms back up. Hands land down around the left foot. Straighten the right knee off the floor, left leg back to three-legged dog, and we'll open through the outside of the left hip and left leg. Keep the left knee lifting toward the ceiling, lifting through the outside of the ankle. Inhale, straight back, level hips, three legs. Down dog, release. Back to a plank or a kneeling plank. Lower all the way down, landing for locust pose. Hands back around the hips. Strength through whole back body, hover up. Stay breathing here. And release, hands around rib cage. Move back to down dog. Walk, step, or hop forwards. Half lift the top of your mat. Forward fold. Raise up, hands overhead. Hands to heart center. Inhale, arms raise. Forward fold. Half lift. Fold, plant the hands, left leg back, other side. Lifting the right arm for revolved runner's lunge. And release the right hand and the left knee. Come into our kneeling lunge, lifting the torso away from the right leg. Arms lift up. Twist to breathe. Left arm forward, right arm behind, staying here. Hard forwards, lift the arms back up. Hands land down around the right foot. Straighten the left knee off the floor. Inhale, right leg back to three-legged dog. And again, we'll lift through the outside seam of right leg. So the hip, the knee, and the ankle all lifting toward the ceiling. And inhale, straight back, three-legged dog, level hips. Down dog, release. Plank or kneeling plank, lower all the way down, landing. Second pass at locust. Hands around hips. Strength through back body, hover, lift through the backs of the legs, backs of the arms, shoulders back. We'll keep the head fairly neutral out in front of you. No need to try to look to the ceiling or even the wall in front of you. Gentle curve through the back of the neck. And release. Take the right arm out to the side for shoulder roll. Straight out or into a goalpost shape. Begin to roll onto right hip, right side body. Left foot could plant behind the right knee so it can start to point toward the ceiling. If you'd like, left arm can reach back behind to add more weight into the twist. Or keep the left hand in front of you for a little less weight, less intensity. And roll back onto the chest. Take the left arm out, straight out or goal post. And roll onto left hip. Roll onto left side. Right limbs could reach back, or again, we can keep them to the floor. Knees could be forwards like our reclined twist. And right our hand can land or reach back. Roll back onto the front of the body, come up into a Sphinx pose, or if you'd prefer, we can come up into High Cobra onto the hands, but you're welcome to stay to elbows and forearms. Really our first back bend with the exception of our cow pose in the beginning. Again, thinking of pulling the shoulders back, so not just propping yourself up here and hanging out. Shoulder blades back toward the spine, lifting the chest up, so it's though we're picturing a curve from the tips of the toes all the way up the legs, all the way up the chest, and into the neck. Not the gaze, but a nice neutral curve into the neck. And release the chest back to the floor. Take the hands around the rib cage. We'll press up onto hands and knees and leave the stance a little long, coming into a puppy pose. Take the hands a little more narrow than the shoulders. Chest is bending toward the floor. Triceps may land, they may not. Maybe elbows and forearms land instead. Forehead, chin, or chest could land. We'll lift the chest away from the floor. Slide the right arm under left shoulder for thread the needle. Right cheek or temple could land to the ground. And switch sides. Take the right arm forward. Left arm under right shoulder, other side, left cheek or temple could land. And rebuild back up onto hands and knees. Tuck the toes, back to down dog. On your inhale, extend the left leg back to three-legged dog. Exhale, step forwards into a warrior one. Right heel grounds, lift the chest away from the left thigh, lift the arms. Take the elbows wide, exhale, open the chest, goal post, gentle back bend. Leave the left knee bent, arms lift up overhead, and fold, hands down around the left foot. Moving the hips back, folding over left leg to pyramid. Again, the left knee does not have to be all the way straight. We can keep a slight bend to encourage a fold instead of a round through spine and hips. Lifting the chest away from the floor, plant the right hand inside the left foot onto the ground or a block if you'd like. Taking left hand into an L shape. Take the crease of this L, the web of the thumb, and tuck it into left hip crease, lengthening back, so making sure we're not shifting the hips off to one side, but sitting left hip behind, squaring right hip forwards gently. Right hand can then move to the hip, start to pivot the chest open to the left, revolve triangle. Hand can stay to the lower spine or extend up, long arms. Release the left hand back to the floor, bend into left knee. We'll step straight back into down dog. Other side, right leg back, three-legged dog. Exhale, step forwards, warrior one, left heel grounds. Lifting up, take the torso away from the right thigh. Elbows wide, exhale, open the chest. Lift just the arms. Fold, hands down around the right foot. Move the hips back, beginning to straighten right knee as you fold to pyramid. Again, sitting right hip back. Keep the right side long, even if it may want to hitch to the side. And lift the torso away from the right thigh. Left hand inside right foot. Take again the right hand into an L shape. Tuck it into the right hip crease and move the hip back so the hips are reaching back toward the end of the mat. We can then open the chest, revolve triangle, keeping right hand to hip or extending all the way up to the ceiling. And release the right hand back to the floor. Bend into right knee, step straight back to down dog. And we'll begin to walk the feet forwards. Come into a forward fold at the top of your mat. Inhale to a half lift, shoulders back. Exhale, fold. A little bend in the knees, raise all the way up, hands overhead. And hands to heart center. Working a little external rotation in the hips. Shift your weight into the left leg. Bend right knee up toward the height of the hip. Navel draws back like we did in the beginning to support our tall spine. And cross right ankle over the left knee or left leg. Sitting back, both hips down to the floor. Right knee down toward the floor as we sit into a figure 4 position. And stand up, float the right knee. Release the right foot to the ground. Shift your weight into right leg. Press the right foot down to lift the left knee. And cross left ankle over right knee or right leg, sitting back, figure 4. And standing up, float the left knee. Release the left foot back to the ground. Take your hands to the hips, please. Step back with the right leg, or we will be doing a couple rounds of goddess and then triangle to each side. So if you'd rather step back with your left, if that helps you see your screen, either option, either side, make sure we do both. Take the heels in, toes out for goddess pose. We may need to shorten the stance along the way. Lift the arms. Elbows wide, exhale, sit back. Press the knees wide out over the toes. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, sit back to goddess pose. We'll do 2 more and then we'll stay. Navel draws back, ribs in as we sink. And once more down to stay. And pressing the knees, pressing the outside of the hips wide. And stand up, starfish pose, hands up to the corners, take the toes in front of the heels, and we'll take the hands to the hips. Rotate right knee, right toes to the back of the mat, or again, remember which side you're doing first. Lift the arms up to the height of the shoulders, navel back, reach forwards, come down to triangle pose. Right hand to the shin, ankle, or ground, keep the navel back so we're not coming into a back bend. Again, drawing back that strength we found in the very beginning of our practice to support lower spine. And maybe your hand reaches the floor today, maybe it doesn't, maybe it never did, and we operate from where we are right now. Sensation over any goal. And bend into the right knee, inhale, reverse warrior, right arm lifts, curve open through right rib cage. And stack the spine to warrior 2. Return the hands to the hips, take the toes in front of the heels, and then switch sides. Left knee and left toes to the front of the mat, or again, opposite side. Arms lift up, keep the left knee wide. Reach forwards, take the left hand down to the shin, ankle, or floor, right arm lifted up over the shoulders. And bend back into the left knee. Inhale, reverse, press the left foot into the floor to reach back. And stack the spine, warrior 2. Return the hands to the hips, take the toes in front of the heels. Interlace hands behind the back if you'd like. We can take awkward grip, maybe the grip we took first in our forward fold at the top of the mat, had the right thumb on top. We can take a left thumb up on top instead. And begin to fold forwards, hinging at the hips to lift the hands, lower the chest. Inhale back up to a wide leg half lift. Pivot back to face the front of the mat. So it may be your left knee and left toes, or if we did the opposite side first, come back to our original position. Step back to plank or kneeling plank and lower all the way down to the floor, landing. Interlace hands behind the back, your choice. Maybe we take our original grip, coming into a bound locus. Press the hands back toward the heels, strengthen through back body. So we lift the legs, extend the arms back. And release hands around rib cage. Come back into a wide leg child's pose. Press to hands and knees and walk the knees wider than hips and rib cage. I can let the torso land down between the knees. Or if frog pose is in your practice, you're welcome to take frog. This will have both the knees and the feet the same width apart, more like a goddess pose shape, but facing the floor. If you're on hardwood and it doesn't hurt your knees, you can even let the knees slide. You're also welcome to turn sideways on your mat so the knees have a cushion. And rebuild. Come back up onto hands and knees. If we're on a hardwood floor, maybe we regret our decision as we're coming out. Hopefully not. Go ahead and sit the hips back and swing the legs out in front of you. Taking the left leg forwards and bring the right foot inside left thigh for head to knee pose. Inhale to lift the arms up overhead. Hinge at the hips, hug the navel, and as we fold, scooping over the left leg. Hands may land to the foot or they may land around the knee. Knee and hips stay relaxed off to the side. And walk the hands back up the left leg, sitting up. Point the right knee toward the ceiling and take the right foot to the outside of the left thigh. We can leave the left leg straight out, or if you'd like, we can wrap left heel back toward right hip. Just make sure we can sit back to the floor. If not, extend back out. Left arm lifts. As you exhale, twist the left elbow or hand across the right knee. Plant the right hand behind to sit tall, open right chest, right shoulder back. And spin back around to face the front. And your choice here. Left leg back out in front if it's not already. We can pull the left heel toward left hip, taking our figure four shape, but in a seat instead of in our chair pose earlier, or instead of our reclined option. If you prefer the reclined option, go ahead and lean back and take that one instead. Lifting up may give a slightly different sensation. Instead of surrendering to gravity, the hips are seated to the floor, while bringing the leg toward the chest in a different way. If you'd like, we can come into fire log, allowing the knees and the heels to begin to stack so the shins are fairly flush out in front of you. Sitting tall and folding forward if you'd like for fire log, or again, we can maintain our seated or reclined figure four. And sitting back up, we will switch sides. So starting with our head to knee pose or fold, take the right leg straight out in front and bring the left foot inside right thigh. Inhale the arms up overhead. Hinge at the hips. Fold the navel out over right leg. Hands can land to the knee or perhaps the foot. Folding forwards. And begin to sit back up. Point the left knee toward the ceiling. Take the left foot to the outside of the right thigh. And again, we can stay here, or if you'd prefer, we can wrap the right leg back, heel back by the left hip. Either twist option. Inhale the right arm up and twist the elbow or hand across left knee. Left hand plants back to sit tall. Open the left side of the chest and left shoulder. And same as our triangle pose here, try to not force yourself into a back bend, thinking that we're sitting taller. Elongate up toward the spine. This may mean that the ribs actually hug in. It's a little counterintuitive, but it feels a lot more sturdy. And release, spin back around and face the front, and we'll guide left knee toward the floor, keeping the ankle crossed. If you would like to come into our seated figure 4, if you'd like to take our reclined variation, go ahead and come on in. Or we can land the right shin toward parallel with the front of the mat in the hips. Left ankle may need to slide forward a little bit. Make sure it's not going to fall off, but make sure we're also not in a cross leg seat, nice and over the knee. Lifting tall, we can stay here, fold forwards, or you could always return to our figure 4 if this is not conducive to maintaining the breath. And we'll sit back up. Uncrossing the legs, go ahead and spin around or spin into whatever variation, whatever direction you would like to be facing for Shavasana. We're not quite there, but we're getting there. Release all the way onto your back. If you'd like, you can come through a boat pose or a slight curl down to get there, or take yourself down to the floor in whatever way you would like. Take the arms out to the sides and walk the feet toward mat width or a little wider. Release the knees to the left, windshield wiper shape. Breathing, staying here. You may feel this in the top of the right leg, maybe in the front of the hip, maybe the low back. We all may feel it in a different spot. And point the knees up. Release the knees to the right. Left knee hangs toward right foot or the floor. And bring the knees back up. Walk the feet in. We'll come into a bug pose. Last bit here, a nice relaxing inversion. Take the limbs back up like we did in the beginning. but no lowering, just staying here. Or if you'd like, if shoulder stand or half shoulder stand are comfortable and safe poses for you, especially in the room you're in, make sure we're not going to knock into anything. You're welcome to come into either. Headstand stirs it up a little bit, so you choose. If you'd like to go do things, maybe a headstand. If you're winding down, maybe not a headstand. As you exhale, feel as though the arms are sinking into the shoulders and the legs are sinking into the hip joints. Just enough strength to stay lifted, relaxed in the hands, feet, fingers, toes. Feel as though every exhale, the breath is moving down from fingertips and toes into the shoulders, into the hips, down into the floor. And hug the knees into the chest. Give the legs a squeeze. Take your hands to the front of the knees or the front of the shins. We'll come into a yin variation, one option for happy baby. You can stay here if you'd like. We can lean up and hold on to the tops of the ankles, breathing here. If you'd like, we can take our feet flexed variation, opening the knee joints, but be aware of how much the seat lifts off the floor. Try to keep the back of the pelvis toward the ground. And the same pose we started in, come into a reclined butterfly, or if there's any other poses that you'd prefer to take before Shavasana, you are welcome to take them now. Feeling again from whatever shape you're in, the points in the back of the body that land, that release. Inhales, feel as though front surface lifts toward the ceiling. And exhales, back surface of the body releasing into the floor. And take the hands to the outside of the legs. Bring the legs back toward one another. Again, add on anything else you'd like to feel comfortable and ready to release for Shavasana. When you're ready, release onto your back. Legs can be long down the length of the mat, or we could bend the knees and knock them in if that is a more comfortable shape for the lower spine and hamstrings. Again, staying onto your back as long as this is a comfortable position, though I will come to a seat. Rest on your back. As you land, again, be aware of the front of the body and the back surface of the body. The contrast between the two as you observe the breath, spatially where they are in relation to the floor, the ceiling, and your spine. Front surface, back surface. Be aware of the center plane of the body, the space where the bones would land, the space between front and back surface. Not a physical thing that we could see, but a line, a plane that we can be aware of. Be aware of the very soles of the feet. Observing the breath as it is already, no need to change or modify it. But observe the breath as you inhale. Move from the soles of the feet, up the bones of the legs, up the spine, up to the crown of the head. Again, try to picture this shape, this direction, as the breath already is. As you exhale, release the breath down to the soles of the feet. Observe the inhales up to the crown of the head. And observe the exhales down to the soles of the feet. Again, body breathes normally. A relaxed, organic state and rhythm to the breath. Adding a visualization to the breath. And let the body breathe naturally. And over the next few breaths, picture the exhales moving down to the ankles. Observe the inhales to the crown of the head. And observe the exhales down to the ankles. Breathing between crown and ankles. Observing the exhales move down to the knees. Inhales return to the crown of the head. And observe the exhales moving down to the knees. Exhales observed to the base of the spine. Feel the inhale move to the crown of the head, and observe the exhale down to the base of the spine. Observe the exhale down to navel center. Inhale to the crown of the head. Exhale to navel center. Observe the exhales to heart center. Breathing between crown and heart. Exhales to throat center. Inhales to the crown. Exhales to throat center. Exhales to the point between the eyes. Feel as though the inhale moves to the crown of the head and just above. Exhales to the point between the eyes. Now, please be aware of the single point at third eye, space between the eyebrows. As you exhale, feel as though the breath moves down each side of the nose in a triangle shape, As you inhale, feel these lines of breath come back up to converge at third eye. As you exhale, feel the breath move down each side of the nose, triangle shape of breath, and inhale back up toward the point between the eyes. Continuing to rest with this shape and quality to the breath. Now, please return back to the intention that you had set at the beginning of your practice. Repeating it a couple times in the mind as a mantra. Feeling it throughout the body. How would it be? How would it feel to embody this intention? What actions would this intention be supported by? What could you not do to support this intention? And let this intention last longer than just the end of our practice. And begin to expand the breath back out into the trunk of the body, into the limbs, into hands and feet. As you breathe out to the fingers and toes, begin to move them. You can rock the head from side to side. And bend the elbows. And begin to walk the feet back, bend the knees to the ceiling, hug the knees into the chest. And be aware of anything on either side of you, rolling onto one side to take a few breaths. And pressing your hands into the floor, come up into a tall seat. Hands resting onto the legs or onto the knees. And observe again the breath in a triangle shape at the nose. Inhale, 2 lines of breath converge at third eye. And exhale releases the breath down both sides of the nose. And return to your intention one last time. Hopefully not the last time ever, but the last time for now. And bring the palms together at heart center, pressing the palms in, elbows wide. Take your intention and your practice with you. Come back to any tools, any techniques you find beneficial. The light within me honors the light within all of you. Namaste. Hi guys, thanks for practicing with me today. If you'd like to see more videos, if you'd perhaps like to see more of Miko's arm being shoved under the door, I'll link a couple right here. I'll link my page. I'll link the most recent series or video. And subscribe if you'd like to let yourself know when I put out a new video. What do you think, Miko? Do you think that's a good idea? I think that's a good idea.